Hey, welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio, the final few moments of the show with me. And hey, we were talking about all the stuff that's happening. And one of the things that we spoke about today was more than 30 million people in the UK received their first jab of the, AstraZeneca vaccine. Yeah, so that's what's happening right now. But there has been another study, though. There's been a recent study just a couple of hours ago that came up that showed half of the UK, has antibodies from vaccinations or infections. I mean, that is 50% true, 50% right, as 50% wrong as well, because there is a lot of this thing that is going on. And roughly half of the people in the UK now have antibodies. That is what they're saying. That's what the study is saying, that, against COVID. So either through infection or vaccination, people have developed antibodies. And these are all tests conducted by the Office for National Statistics, so the ONS. So most of this will be through vaccination, though, with 30 million people actually getting the vaccines. And most of these 30 have gotten their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. And the antibody are basically, these proteins in the blood that recognize specific infections. And what they do is essentially, fight these off. And among the oldest, are the people who are most at risks, and whose levels are way, way higher than ours. So there's been a small decline in detectable antibodies in that group since the peak of infections back in January. So yeah, the ONS speculates this might be people who received the vaccine earliest, having had their first dose but not their second dose. So yeah, they stress though that this is not evidence that these people have less immunity. Rather, they developed antibodies and they are fighting their bodies, essentially fighting these things off. So like I said, it's 50% correct answer right there. So once someone has an infection, antibodies help your body though to be ready if you ever encounter the virus again. So vaccine provide though a safe way to develop these antibodies without the risk of getting sick. So yeah, the tests used in the ONS studies give a yes/no result based on whether the amount of antibodies in your blood crosses a certain threshold. So people can be protected by lower levels of these antibodies. So they develop some kind of immunity to this. So yeah, there are other elements of your immune system like T cells, which are not being measured though in the study that the ONS have done. And there is evidence to suggest these protective T cells might be detectable for longer than your antibodies. And it's possible some of this decline is from infections in the first wave. As we know, antibodies infection usually drops over time after you expose it to a virus or anything, a foreign body, for the very first time. So yeah, the study conducted by taking blood from a representative sample of people around the UK to estimate what proportion of the whole population has these antibodies. Well, by 14th of March, an estimated 55% of people in England have had these antibodies, and 51% in Wales, 49% in Northern Ireland, and 43% in Scotland. That's essentially 50% of the population who've developed these antibodies. So yeah, among the over 65s though, who are most likely to be vaccinated, roughly 90% have developed these antibodies. So yeah, the figures mark a rapid rise in people in the population having protection against COVID-19. So up to roughly a third of the people testing positive when these levels, were measured at the start of March. So other data is published today shows, the numbers of deaths seen across the UK has remained below what is expected at this time of the year, and having dipped, under the average last week. So there were like 11,600 deaths registered, in the ending week at March 19. So that's 8% below the 5-year average of this week. I mean, it's just going to be dropping as time goes on, especially, with the rollout of the vaccine. And, most of the people getting, like 30 million people, got their first dose. And the plan is to get everyone, vaccinated by the time June hits. So that's essentially every adult in the UK will be vaccinated by the time June 21st to 12th hits. So that is the plan. That is the roadmap that they're talking about. Boris Johnson spoke about. So yeah, that's just something that, that is going to happen. So right now, 30 million people got their first dose, and 2.9 people have essentially gotten their second dose of the vaccine as well. The booster shots, most of these people have gotten it. So, it's but it's about time, that they're moving forward with this. And with time, I hope that everything, gets back to normal. I mean, the plan is to get everything open by the time April 12th hits. And yeah, that's just a couple of days more away. The plan is to get everyone normalized. But even after that, even after everything looks like it's getting back to normal, doesn't mean you're not supposed to wear your masks. Doesn't mean you can, go and, breathe on somebody's face. I mean, yeah, don't be touching nobody, because that's something you should try to avoid as much as possible until everything settles down, until we get, we make sure everyone in the country gets vaccinated. So that is the initial plan. That is the plan. That is what we are going to be following through, and the government is following through. And if everyone, stays accountable for and does their part, by the time June hits, everything hopefully will get back to normal. And with that, though, I gotta, step out of the studio and make way for my buddy Tim, who'll be keeping you company on the buzz. But make sure you guys tune in and keep it locked with him, as he gives you all that juicy stuff. And with that, you can catch me again tomorrow, same time, same place, same frequency. And with that, my name is Nick, and I'm out of here.